Good morning, Mortgage Coach community. Dave Savage. Today we are here to have a mastermind. It is the Productivity Mastermind every Friday, and we have Jen Duplessis. Jen, thanks for joining us as one of the regular moderators and leaders.
My pleasure. Thank you. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, thanks. Good to see you. And Michelle Town. What's up, Michelle? I missed you guys last week.
Happy Friday, everybody. I was supposed to be in Hawaii, but that did not work out. So I took a day off.
Well, I'm sure you'll take that trip when the time is right. But we're glad to have you here. So I want to kick off today's call just going through the Mortgage Coach community, making sure everybody noticed some of the highlights for the past week. So if you could confirm that you can see my screen real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so a couple highlights. There was a conversation over the weekend around paperless open houses, and someone had a pretty cool stand that they use at an open house for an iPad, and it looks like Robert Ring just got it, like this is like 7 minutes ago, hot off the press. I do want to let everybody know that I posted a survey this morning, and it looks like one of the top topics that people want to mastermind around is how to get more realtor meetings with new agents, so assuming it's a new agent that you don't have a relationship with, how can you, what are some approaches, strategies, scripts to get the meeting? And then what are strategies, scripts, approaches to get more referrals? So we did start a Google Doc. If anybody wants to click on it and you can edit it, you can follow along, but there's a link right here. I posted it about 10 minutes ago. Check it out. I do want to announce next week is going to be a huge week in Mortgage Coach land. Number one, I'm interviewing Jeff Cohen on Tuesday, biggest real estate agent in the state of Nebraska, and number two agent with Berkshire Hathaway. So the guy is a monster. Gonna have him for a full hour. If you do have some questions you want me to ask him or you want to engage, make sure you add some comments. And then Todd Bookstan also has a monster real estate agent that will be a guest on next Friday's Mastermind. So two big realtors next week. Also, Mari Smith, who is, the queen of Facebook. I interviewed her this week. Great interview. I put it in what we consider one of the top interviews of 2018. So this week, I had the interview with Mari. I had the interview with Tim Brahim on the 9 prospecting habits of top producers, which, by the way, it does look like from the poll question that I posted. If you're looking at my screen, I posted a few questions just to prepare for today's call. And it looks like how to get meetings and referrals from new agents is number one. And number two was prospecting habits and strategies. So check that out. By the way, I also want to shine a light on this post from Brian Flute. Brian is, one of America's top 1% mortgage professionals, has done over 1,000 total cost analysis. And he reached out to the community saying, hey, I've got some customers that I haven't been following up with. What are some ideas and strategies to reapproach those clients? So community, appreciate all the commentary and comments. But if you do have ideas or success stories, please make sure you respond to Brian's post. And maybe we'll even make that a little bit of a topic today. By the way, Jen and Michelle, did you guys read this post from Brian by any chance?
No, that's why I was looking at it real quick here.
Yeah, look at it real quick. I do want to make sure we speak to that before this call's over. Brian's a great leader in the Mortgage Coach community, great leader in the mortgage space as a whole. And I think it's a question that he's probably not the only one that has it. So let's kind of add that as our last topic of the day. You cool with that?
Yeah, and I actually would say that, Michelle, you should take the lead on this because you had some great terminology that you had shared with us at the beginning of the year or towards the end of the year as we were getting ready for the new year that I have adapted and, swiped and adapted about. I know you weren't expecting my phone call. So if you can make sure that you talk about that, I think that would be something that people need to hear because I'm using it and it feels good. It feels really good.
Cool.
Okay.
So one more question before we get into topics. And by the way, if you have a question, you can either post it in our Facebook group, because myself, Jen, and Michelle are tracking that, or you can post that in the questions of GoToWebinar. But I want to just take a pulse check of where are you at? Where's your production compared to last year? Are you down? Are you up a bit? Or are you killing it? You know, just having an incredible year and busting out your goals. So far, it's 50-50 with, 3% killing it. So only about 60% of you have voted. If I can get everybody's vote, come on, participate. This is a mastermind. If we were in person, one of the first things I announce is that, hey, everybody, we're going to be candid, we're going to be vulnerable, we're going to be transparent, and everybody has to participate. So please answer this question, at least 70% of you. So here's where we're at. Jen, Michelle, any commentary? It looks like 40% are down, 57% are up a bit, and 2% are just killing it, which that's pretty good. What are you hearing out there, and how are you doing?
Okay. For me, a lot of the people that I am around right now are struggling just a little bit. We're starting to get some heartbeat here in at least Orange County or Southern California right now. So we're starting to see a lot more inventory start to pick up. Our inventory is starting to double. So I think I would tell everybody who is out there that has been putting in all the work over the last 2 months, don't stop right now, because it's about to break through. And I truly believe we're going to have an incredible summer. With the interest rates going up, I think that over the last 30 to 45 days, we've had a lot of shock factor right now with the clients going, what do you mean the rates aren't 3%? And again, we get off rates, we talk about payment, and it's actually creating a sense of urgency for them, because I'm letting them know, hey, this is where we're going. The Feds are expected to raise the rate at least 2 more times this year. So what just happened from October to January is going to happen again at the end of the year. So, now by waiting, you just, instead of adding $200 to your payment, you now just have add $400 to your payment. So don't stop.
How was your conversion this year, and like how many leads are coming through your model monthly? How many are you converting? How is conversion so far for the year?
So I would tell you that my lead conversion point is actually higher. I'm not having as many leads coming in. They're more quality leads. We've kind of tweaked a little bit. I'm still doing Zillow. I love Zillow. Zillow just did a great tweak to their long form, which creates a sense of urgency with the client, which is what I think they were lacking. And that's what I love about Zillow, is they always try to improve. We actually kind of expanded a little bit with our realtors. One of the things, the best practices that I've instituted in, and I know I heard it from somebody on this mastermind group, but that's why I love this group, is every Friday at the end of the day. So I start at 2:00. I go through all. My CRM tells me who did that person give me, and what leads am I working on. So I send them a list of leads that we're working on every day or every week, and say, is there anything that you need to update on this? I'm actually to talk about, how to get back in as your realtor. I'm actually asking them if they wouldn't mind spending 5 to 10 minutes on the phone to go over that with me. So that might be a great way to get your realtors to engage a little bit, and say, I have some updates for you on your clients. I'd love to talk to you about them.
Love that. So by the way, folks, I just shared my screen, and Marshall Feldman asked a question. I am curious to what percentage of folks are co-marketing on Zillow with agents. And now again, there's co-marketing with agents, there's buying leads, there's a lot of different ways to do the Zillow strategy. Please, I wanted to shine a light on this. Who's doing it? It does look like some people are not having success, probably the majority, and some people are, looks like about 10, maybe 20% are getting value. Others aren't. But I mean, I would just tell you, like any lead source, it's all about your systems and your process. It does sound like Zillow has made some updates that you like, Michelle. Anyways, if you do have some ideas or questions on this, please put them in the post. Remember, the most valuable part of this community is the quality of our people, but that only transitions into value when you participate. That means when you ask a question or you share your perspective or your ideas. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Jen, anything else you want to share before we tackle the first topic of just, how do we get in front of realtors and actually get meetings? Anything else you want to shine a light on or talk about?
No, not right now. Not right now. I'm kind of waiting for other stuff. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So one last reminder, this is a mastermind. So if anybody on this call wants to raise their hand virtually and ask a question or share an idea, raise your hand and go to webinar and we will unmute you. We always try to make sure, we're here as leaders to lead and drive the conversation. Luke raised his hand. All right, I love it. Luke, I have unmuted you. Did you have a question or a comment?
Good morning. Yeah, this is from Michelle. On that Friday call, what format are you putting that report to your agents? Is it an Excel? Is it just in an email format? What does it look like?
Well, I export the data into Excel, and then I'll send them a snapshot, and I'll actually hand type in my notes because I'm not smart enough technology-wise to figure out how to take my notes from Jingo and put it into an Excel spreadsheet. So I just make a quick note because sometimes my notes might say something that's not appropriate either. So, and then I really engage them, and I have about 2 of my realtors right now that we do a lot of lead exchanging with. We actually have phone calls, so we have them set. One's at 2 o'clock, one's at 2:15, and we keep it at 15 minutes. We don't expand on that. And I'm like, your time is valuable. I just need 15 minutes of your time. Is there anything else? And that's where you do your open-ended questions to them. Don't make it yes/no questions. Make it open-ended so that your realtor has to engage with you. So instead of saying, is there any more people that I can help you with? It's going to be a yes or no, right? It's going to be something like, but gosh, I just did this video on what the cost of waiting is. What do you think about that? And I want them to engage in that. And then it kind of opens up the conversation a little bit more than just a yes and no. Do you think that has value for you?
And how's that, Luke? Any other questions there, or did we cover it for you?
Okay. And then I just blanked out. If I think of it, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I was going to make a comment. Michelle, I know how to do that for you in Jungo.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So Jungo will automatically send it for you, and you can specify the time that you want it sent, and you can have it sent 5 minutes before the meeting.
Okay, well, I'm going to catch up with you, Jen, after this meeting.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. This is masterminding at its best.
Yeah.
So again, folks, if you have a question, Luke, you just raised your hand again. Someone else had their hand raised, but it went down. Luke, did you have something else to say?
Yeah. Okay. So on these calls, this is what I was going to ask you, Michelle. Are they pre-scheduled? Are you talking to the agent saying, I would like to do a call with you every Friday, or are these just impromptu?
So they started out impromptu, and then I would ask them, I always try to ask a value question at the end of my conversation with the realtors. Did you find this valuable? And if they say yes, I'll say, fantastic. Do you think that we could try to put this on the calendar for every Friday at 2? Or one of my realtors says, I don't want to do it every Friday, but I can definitely commit to you every other Friday. So that works. So we do an email every Friday, and then we touch base every second Friday, if that makes sense. So kind of work with their schedule. I mean, Jen, you're the one I think I got this idea from. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. The whole idea is just to get engaged with your realtor, and especially now. In fact, I've got a whole plethora of them sitting here right now that I'm about ready to be making phone calls with too. I just ran, more DU to make sure that, especially in a rising interest rate environment, that everybody still qualifies. So that's our responsibility as lenders, right, is to make sure that we're doing that. And if we're doing it, why would we want to share that with the real estate agent? And then on top of that, whatever you had your original conversation with your client regarding, putting together your total cost analysis, and they said they were going to look at condos, they may have already changed to start looking at townhouses. And so you need to know that information. You need to be aware of that. That's why the call. It's not a sales call, it's a service call, right? And that's what you're doing, is servicing your real estate agent and bringing them up to speed, and they're bringing you up to speed on where you're at in this process. And because things change. I mean, it just does. So that's the whole purpose. Think of it as a service call. You're doing a service call, and you know what better to do it than do it in a block time, and that's what you're doing, Michelle, right? And I'm doing that too. You know, blocking out that time to do it every week. Now, in addition to that, I always ask them who they want to be connected with, right? Because I want to make sure that I'm serving them one more step as well in those introductions to other people that they want to be connected with. So I'm using that call to do all kinds of service rather than selling.
Oh,
Love it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fantastic because at the end, when you do that call us, hey, by the way, is there anybody else that you've met this week or you think that might like this? That's such a soft way to go in and come as a value instead of, hey, I need your business. It's, hey, what can I do to help you? I love that, Jen. Great job.
Thanks.
Luke, did that cover it? Anything else, buddy?
One thing. So I do a Wednesday call to all my pre-approvals and the agents with them. So is this call more for like earlier in the process for the leads that we maybe not are at that point yet, that we're still incubating? Is that what this is more for?
Let me take that real quick, then you can grab it. So I have both a passive and an active client list or prospect list. So this call is every week to the client, well, not for passives, right? That's not every week, but this call is to the real estate agent for both passive and active. So whether they're on the active or the passive list, I'm going to be calling the real estate agents that are tied to and attached, because sometimes they need to nudge the client. Sometimes the client's not responding and I want to know what's going on. So I need and want a buddy reaching out to this client as well. If you've made several email attempts and phone calls and whatnot, and they've not responded to you, then what better to have your partner do a quick little nudge with them. So this is why, so I'm utilizing my partner truly as a partner. I mean, we are together moving this forward. So I use it for both active and passive on a weekly basis. Calling the actual client earlier in the week, just like you're doing in your time block on Wednesdays. So I would call your client there and then wait to call your realtor unless there was something urgent that needed to be addressed.
Got it.
All right, guys. Luke, thanks for jumping in. Way to participate, and raise your hand again if you want clarification or a question. Sound good, bud?
Yep, thank you.
All right, so I will keep an eye as hands come up. So let's transition to that first topic, and I am going to share my screen. Again, I want to remind folks, we created a Google Doc. There's a link on the webpage. Not only can you go in and view this document in progress, I made it so it's editable. Feel free to add your thoughts. Try not to delete anything anybody has or take away anything anybody has, but if you do want to add an idea to this document, it's a living, breathing document. I'm going to take it down from the screen and I will take notes. And Jen, why don't you go first with just ideas to get the meeting with the new agent. And when I say new agent, I'm not necessarily saying they're new in the business. I'm saying they're a new agent to you, so you don't have that trust, that credibility, that past relationship. What are some ideas to just get a meeting?
Well, the first thing for me is nobody is a cold call. I don't do any cold calling whatsoever. So it will be an introduction. You know, it'll be an introduction that I'm using through my past clients, like you have here. I call them alumni, by the way, but my alumni clients through my network that I'm meeting, and you know, based on, and that's why I put down further down new agent relationship scripts, just to listen to last week's productivity mastermind call, because I really laid out what I do in those calls. So everyone I'm meeting, I'm asking for referrals to somebody. And so if I'm asking for a referral to a real estate agent, I'm going to be very specific. You know, you have to be specific to be terrific. And I want to make sure that that they know exactly what type of real estate agent I'm looking for at that particular time. So, you know, I usually want to meet with intentional, credible, connected real estate agents. That's sort of my thing, but you have to know exactly what you want from the real estate agent, or what type. If you generalize it and say, you know, I just want to meet with any realtor, then you're probably not going to get anybody, right? You're not specific. So I would say, you know, get the introduction. get the introduction from somebody. And I just kind of want to stop there and let everybody else put in their thoughts on
Well,
it.
before we do that, and I want to make that a little more tactical. So let's say you're getting an introduction, you pick the person, whether it's a past customer, whether it's someone that you have social capital with, and you're asking them to make an introduction. First of all, I want you to, I know how I do it. You know, I always ask them, hey, will you email introduce me? So one, I want to know tactically, how do you do that? And then just give us your 1 minute script. We don't need to do the whole script, but when you start talking to that agent, or when you leave a voice message, or when you reach out, I want to just hear any scripting and tactical feedback so we can just crush that topic. You know, it's good.
Yeah.
Okay, we got the idea, but how do you do it?
Yeah, well, I think you're going to get referrals in a multitude of ways. So let me just speak to receiving a referral via email, because generally I'm meeting with someone and I'm asking them, you know, the 5 questions, you know, who do you want to be connected with? And they in turn ask me, who do I want to be connected with? So I'm going to say, you know, this realtor, you know, specifically. So I provide the person who is going to refer me with a mini bio that I give to them, so that when they do the email introduction, they have what I want them to say, and they of course can put, you know, their thoughts around that. And so generally when that introduction is done, and I just had this the other day, as a matter of fact, you know, and it was, you know, hey, I want to introduce you to this great loan officer, which by the way, I didn't say that. They said that. And they just said, you know, I want to introduce you to Jen Duplessis, and, you know, here's a little bit of information. And Jen, I'd like to introduce you to Roseanne. She's a brand new real estate agent, you know, at this particular office. And I think that the two of you would get along really well because of this, that, and the other reason. So what I do from there is just email back and say, hi, Roseanne, this is what I did. Hi, Roseanne. You know, or first of all, for the other person, thank you so much for the introduction. Hi, Roseanne. The first step in determining whether or not we have common interests in our, you know, in an ability to work together would be for us to have a quick chat on the phone. When would you be available? I'm not going to meet them right now, but that's me. I want to have a chat on the phone with them because I want to find out if there really is a purpose for us for having a discussion. We had a discussion that lasted about an hour, and she came to my lunch and learn yesterday, and we have another meeting scheduled next week for not 3 hours, for an hour and a half for us to meet and really carve out the strategies that we're going to use moving forward. But for me, it just started with a simple email. If I were going to make a phone call, it would be the same thing. Hey, Roseanne, you know, pleasure to meet you. And, you know, I think the best thing for us to do is just schedule a time to meet, talk on the phone to see if there's some common interest for us. And then we can decide the best course of action from there. Does that sound good to you? Because I don't want to take a lot of their time. I don't want to take a lot of my time. I want to really find out if there's something that, you know, common interest. And I want to learn about their business in that phone call.
Perfect. So folks, everybody on this group, remember, this is a mastermind. I'm sharing my desktop. I just added a question to our group saying, when you ask someone to introduce you to a new realtor relationship, please share how you do it in comments below and any quick scripts you use. So that's, you heard Jen's method. I'm gonna share my method, and then we'll get Michelle's method, and then let's try to come up with some other ideas. So, I mean, I don't usually do the bio thing because I want, however that person wants to organically introduce me. Again, I'm not getting introductions from a realtor perspective, so it's, you know, whatever. Maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong. But I do ask, hey, will you mind making the email introduction and really connecting us? And then I call and I get the person's text. I mean, my personal strategy is I want to have as many digital friends as I have until I have their email, their text, and I have a sense that if they communicate through another channel, so that when I am communicating with that new, call it referral partner, new strategic relationship, I'm able to just hit them in 2 to 3 different ways. And text is always one. I just think, you know, when you have a text relationship with someone, you have a friendship. Now, again, you can't force your way into that. You need to appropriately use it, but I'm trying to get into a text relationship with people as quickly as possible. Michelle, any quick hits on how you go from, you know, leveraging your social capital and your network and getting referrals to realtors? Anything tactically you do, any scripting you want to share?
So I'm not a big scripter. I'm very organic. I just feel it and say it. Sometimes that's good. But I'm very much like Jen. I want to work with somebody who has a common interest with me, and that we're going to work together. It's the same, something my coach taught me years ago, which was, everybody wants you to come to them so you can give them money to help market, right? I don't shy away from that. I always say, that's fantastic. I'd love to work with you. However, let's do a couple deals together to make sure that we work well together. But when I'm talking to a new, I usually will ask one of my realtors, especially if I like I tend to be with realtors that have the same energy levels that I do, same common goals that I have. And I will ask them, is there anybody else in your office that you think might, benefit from what we do? And I usually wait until we've had a couple transactions to do that, to make sure they know how I work. And if they do, I'll ask them for an introduction. I'm very much like Jen. I will not meet face to face until we have a phone conversation, because you can tell a lot off the phone. And you'll know if somebody's only wanting to meet with me so that I can spend money with marketing, I typically won't work with them. I will, kindly say, hey, that's fantastic. I'm past my marketing budget this year, and I'd love to work with you and help you grow, but I'm unfortunately, I don't have any more marketing dollars for this year. But that means next year, if we work well together, we might have to do something then. But I don't want a lot of digital chatter, because I have so much already. So I don't just add somebody into my database to add them. Now, if they say, hey, I like your product, but I've got a great lender I'm working with, fantastic. I love that. I'm kind of your out of the box. Do you mind if I add you at least to my rate sheets? I promise I'm not going to bother you, but at least you'll see some of the new things that we do. And I have almost zero negativity on that. Most people will say, absolutely.
Yeah.
Love it. And how many realtor, Michelle, if you could jump back up, first of all, what kind of volume are you doing right now? And how many realtor relationships are you managing, just so we can get a sense of that?
So I would tell you, I have my realtors broken into A, B, and maybe. So my A, probably working with about 12 to 15, realtors that I talk to on a regular basis all week. Then I've got my B realtors, which I'm working with, and they usually get a call once a month. And I've got my maybes, which I'll soft market to. And then if I have any downtime, or I see them opening my emails more and more, I'm going to go ahead and start calling them. I'll move them into my B list and start calling them.
Got it. So how many maybes, just so we have a sense of that?
Oh, sorry. I need to stop turning off my camera. Maybes. Maybes. I'm got about 50.
Okay. So
every listing agent goes into the maybe, just so you know. Always. Every listing agent gets into my data track.
That's key.
So, and I interview enough top producers that most of them have 50 to 100 realtors, call it 10%-ish that are their best, relationships, and, all the way back to the bottom 50%. By the way, if you're on this call, I'd love to know, how many realtor relationships are you managing? And by the way, in order for that to be someone that you're managing, they have to like you and trust you and to have given you a referral. So if no one has ever given you a referral, you're not managing a relationship. You're trying to get a relationship. So let's go to brainstorming some ideas to get meetings. I'm going to go back to the Google Doc. And again, I want ideas from the community. So if you're on this call and you have an idea, share it in one of the channels. I'm just going to call it the multi-channel reach out, where it's just old school selling. There's someone you want to do business with. And again, I absolutely think through introductions is the best way to get to an agent. And when you get to Michelle and Jen's, tenure in the business, they can always get an introduction, or at least have some type of social capital supporting it. But let's just say it's someone you want to do business with. I believe that if you're willing to call, text, Facebook, video, use a multi-channel approach to communicate with someone, and do it in a way that's organic, transparent, has value, you can get meetings with just about anybody and everybody you want. By the way, Michelle, any comments on that? I know that's not what you do, because you've got a lot of volume, you've got a lot of relationships, but there are loan officers on this call that they're brand new in the business. They have their wedding list, but I want to make sure that loan officers just have no excuse to, go out there and get meetings. Any thoughts on that?
Yes. First of all, I want to say that I don't not go after realtors. I do. Maybe I made a bad choice of words the last couple of weeks of saying I don't really chase after new realtors. I will tell you, honesty is the best thing. If you see a realtor that you think does an amazing job, you've worked with them on one side or another, or you've heard some great things, your best line of defense is to call them and say, hey, my name is Michelle, and I want to let you know you are incredible. You do a phenomenal book of business. I have watched you, and I would love to pick your brain for 5 minutes. I know you're busy, but I want you to know how incredible you are. I hope to be you one day, or work with you one day. Don't, feed their ego a little bit, but be sincere about it. If there's something you saw that they did well, tell them, hey, I just worked with you on this transaction, and it went incredible. Or, hey, my realtor that I work with all the time says she just did this deal with you and she absolutely loved, she mentioned to me. Give them the accolades that they have earned, and you will be surprised at how many doors will open for you.
Love that. So we're going to do about 5 more minutes on getting the meeting, and then we're going to transition into how do we optimize referrals. Okay, we have a relationship. They trust us enough to have given us one referral. We're managing 50-ish, no more than 100-ish relationships. How do we get the most referrals? By the way, Jeff Zemfer, I see your question. I would love to unmute you and have you raise your hand. So raise your hand. I would say I'm hearing more and more loan officers having success where it's either creating a video just on their mobile phone and texting it, or Facebook, whether it's audio or video messages. I think that's trending as channels and ways to, build relationships and get into the meeting. So Jeff, before I unmute you, I've got a few people that were in front of you. Monica, you raised your hand. Did you have a question or a comment?
Yes.
Go for it.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
I can.
Okay. So I'm pretty new in the business. I only have a couple of years, and I've got a really long list, of course, of connections, and then also new Facebook friends, loosely friends, right? So there's a lot of realtors in there that I've never met personally, on the phone. How do I dwindle that down? How do I know which ones to go after or which ones to call on?
Okay, well, I can't spend too much time because we could spend a half an hour on that. I'm going to give a couple minutes, and then I'm going to think of a call because that conversation's come up a lot. But I would just start with, this is a really important project. There's no easy answer. It is a lot of work, and you should get, you should have these are my dream 50 agents in the market that I serve. And to me, the 2 criteria are how much business they do. So there's business and opportunity. And then 2, are they cool? Do I want to do business with them? And you're going to eliminate some people that they're not a culture match. They may be killing it. They may meet your production guidelines. And then, you do want to have some up and comers. Jeremy Forcier built the relationship with Nicole Solari, who in 4 years closed 200 sides, but he got her when she was fresh. So, volume and hot shot factor, new up and comer, and attitude and cool. And then, do the work. There's just, I don't want to say that it's a simple thing. It's a tedious thing that you never stop doing. Michelle, did you have an answer to that?
I did. The first thing I would do, you've got to narrow that list down because otherwise you're going to spend too much of your resources everywhere. I would start with wherever you are, what your location is, and go out a mile and draw a circle. And those are the realtors you go to. And then if that doesn't give you enough, go out 2 miles and draw a circle. And that's where you go. Start with your sphere, your local sphere. You will find some people. And you're going to find that managing 50 realtors is absolutely impossible. Managing 10 to 15 is difficult because those are your A people. So once you've got that person, you hang on to that person and do what Jeremy did and, grow with them. But go to your sphere that's closest to you right now That would be where I would start, because those are the people you can actually go and visit and meet very quickly. I have some realtors in Northern California. I can't meet them because I have to get on a plane to go see them. So we do a lot of phone conversations and videos, but they came to me through osmosis. So start with your sphere. The majority of my business is done within a mile of my office with my realtors.
Okay, thank you so much.
If that helps.
Yes.
All right. So last idea I'm going to cover, but if anybody has more, let me know, is I want to remind folks that Realtor Lunch and Learn events, being an educator and a thought leader in the markets that you serve, to Michelle's case, do a lunch and learn and invite your dream list to that lunch and learn. Call them, text them, leverage your title reps, use all of your resources to get people into that event. I did an interview with Kristen Mesterly on a great lunch and learn event. So if anybody wants that, either ask in one of our channels and I'll post that. But I just wanted to throw that in. So to get the meeting, leverage your spheres of influence, multi-channel reach out, leveraging video technology to get your message or communication. Don't give up. Realize that it's going to be a lot. And lunch and learns. Any other ideas anyone wants to throw on the fire before we switch topics and I bring Jeff in?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, there's a whole bunch of ways you can do it. I was just going to say the other way is to find out when that real estate agent is the ones that you're targeting after you've isolated the list, because everybody's right, it's just way too much. Find out when they're having open houses and go to the open houses on the weekends, and find out when they're doing a broker open and go to their broker open, ask to sponsor their broker open. The lunch and learns are great. I'm just going to say I doubt. I mean, you could get somebody who doesn't know you to come to your lunch and learn, but you may have a better opportunity to do a listen and learn, do a webinar, right? They might be more apt to attend something like that. But that avoids the face-to-face, which you can't really gauge them. And one of the ways that I grew my business, over 35 years, was having a ton of these lunch and learns and classes and things, because then you get the pick of the litter. You can see their demeanor, you can see all kinds of things about them, and then choose who you're going to go at. You're going to go after. I'll use that word. The benefit to that is that you allow you're showing that you're an expert in a specific area. So it makes you different than the next loan officer down the street. So that's one of the reasons one of those are really good. If you can teach classes at the local associations, I think that's even better. Sponsor some events to be able to meet people. I'm using some other words, stalk them on Facebook. And I don't mean stalk badly, but if you're trying to reach out to them and you want to find out if they're cool, like Dave says, watch what they're posting, see if they really do resonate with you, and comment on their posts, and they'll start to get to know you. And then later in this Google document we have here, I indicated something called a partner impression program. Come up with a way that you will drip to them in advance of the relationship, and then a perfect loan process, so to speak, a process of after you've had that first meeting with them to make sure that the relationship continues. So just like Michelle, I don't put everyone into my database. I don't put anybody in unless I have met them. But once I've met with them, either on the phone or in person, I then have a 120-day strategy on how to stay in front of them to ensure that what I thought was a good relationship in a meeting continues to go. So I would just reverse engineer that and come up with what could you do, as you're sort of stalking them? What are the things you could be doing? Could you send them a book because you saw something online that they said they were going to travel to Europe, and you send them a book to Europe, about Europe? Could it be that you are sending them a success story? Could it be that you're sending a video just introducing yourself? Could you send them a total cost analysis and demonstrate how you have used and helped it with other people? So there's all kinds of ways that you can do it from a distance as you're trying to get yourself closer to them.
Love it. So Julie, you just had a question about how do I get more information on Realtor Opens. Anything from Nicole Solari is, I think, some of our best content right now. She is in the best of 2018 playlist, and it's called More Paperless Open House Scripts with Nicole Solari. Check that out. So Jeff Zimpher. Jeff, what's up, my man?
Hey, Dave, how we doing?
We're doing good. So Jeff is a leader, a coach with Movement Mortgage, and Jeff was also on the mortgage coach team at one point. Everybody, I mean, this guy is, just creating amazing content in this space. But you had a question, and also if you have any comments, I'd love to bring it into the conversation.
First of all, what's up, Jen Duplessis? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. And she actually somewhat answered the question, but my question was, okay, so we're prospecting marketing to these agents. We decide to put people on I don't know if it was said this way, but essentially kind of an A, B, C player list. I love the comment about a listing agent never comes off my list. I think that's beautiful. My curiosity was, knowing that these relationships are all at various stages, right? I kind of liken it to planes that are circling around LAX, right? You look at, there's like 10 planes waiting to land. So these all land at their own timelines. What are you guys doing? Are you putting them on any type of automation, right, platforms to drip content or whatnot, in addition to some of the stuff you just shared about videos and touch points and books and all that? But I'm just curious if by default you're like, hey, I got my categorized groups of agents on this automation platform.
Yes.
So before anybody answers that, I want everybody to think of that question from Jeff is, now that I have these relationships, I have people that have said yes, how am I optimizing the referrals? And again, tactics are put them on drip lists, and they're just tactics. But the question, everybody, is how are you optimizing your referrals from realtors? By the way, I'm going to post that question in our Facebook group, and I hope that conversation just goes off the handle today with people like, this is how I'm optimizing the referrals. So Michelle, why don't you go first, then Jen, and then, by the way, if anybody else wants to raise their hand, I think this is a big question. I think this is a big topic, and there's a lot of value to be had here.
Okay,
Michelle?
so for me, if I am doing my job during the transaction for that listing agent, I've talked to them at least 2 to 3 times during that transaction. And I've got a feel on whether or not our personalities are going to work. If I really like something in that person, they're going to move not into my maybe list, they're going to move into my B list immediately, because I already know I've got something coming. And I want to encourage that. I'm like Jen, I'm going to do, it's 120 days, it's 180 days, so it's a 6-month campaign where I really, really try to stay in front of them. I try to make sure they're on a phone call. I don't slide dial these ones. It's a live phone call to them. I try to find out when they are going to have broker opens. I don't do open houses anymore, but I do broker opens all the time because I want to meet the agents in my area. And again, I focus in on that mile radius of where I am because that's my sphere. But those agents that you speak to during the transaction, hopefully all of you are speaking to them at least, again, 2 to 3 times during the transaction. You'll know which ones are going to connect with you. And when you do that final call of doing your kind of, hey, congratulations on your closing, just want to see how my team did. How did you like our process? Was there anything you could give us for any advice on what to do or what not to do? And then, by the way, I would love to work with you in the future. Would you mind if I put you on some campaigns or send you some information? I'll have to send them a hard copy of our niche list, our special products, and ask them, when we have these great things as the market right now, as the affordability starts getting harder to get, the lending starts catching up, right? So I asked them, we have some great programs that are coming. When they come out, would you mind if I called you and told you about them? That's what I do.
Cool.
Love that. So, hey, by the way, Michelle, someone had asked you mentioned something about cost of waiting analysis. And I do know that is a strategy that a lot of mortgage coach users to kind of optimize realtor referrals. Could you, one, the question was, when you mentioned it earlier in the call, what were you talking about? And then 2, if you could put that in the context of how you would use that particular strategy to optimize realtor referrals.
Sure thing. That is probably one of my strongest ones right now. I will send them, I have a sample one done, and I will actually talk to them on the phone and say, hey, I'm going to send you this video. Would you mind, can we circle back on this next week? I want to see if this is powerful or not. So I'm right now using, in October, buying a $400,000 condo with 20% down. this is what it would look at. Like today, this is what it looks like. In 6 months, this is what it's expected to look like. And that total cost analysis, I mean, it's incredible when you look at it. I mean, it's almost, for that $400,000, it's $30,000 to $36,000 in difference in what these people are going to pay for that house. So, and I use that, and I'm very short on the video, and I'll be happy to put it into our Facebook group. I'm very short on the video because I want to engage the client to call back. And then what I'll do with that realtor is I'll say, I'm going to customize this for you. What's your average price point? What's your average down payment? And I get all their information, and then I will make sure this is brought to you by Anna Dickinson at Regency Real Estate, powered by Michelle Town. Please call either one of us with any questions.
I love that. And I hear that strategy a lot, where mortgage coach loan officers are using the cost of waiting analysis. And by the way, what it does for the realtors, it makes them realize that you're not just a loan closing partner who closes loans on time and keeps your promises. By the way, no one will give any loan officer a realtor without that, but they start to see you as, one, a conversion partner, and two, a sense of urgency partner. They're like, oh, this loan officer can help me create a sense of urgency with my first-time home buyers. Or another term that I hear used all the time is the counteroffer analysis, where, oh, a family is kind of like in that counteroffer position, and it's like, hey, do I pay the price to get the home, or do I pay the price to hopefully get the home? And a good mortgage coach with a cost of waiting analysis can help that family understand that if you don't make, if you buy now and you pay what you need to get the home versus lose the home and wait, it really helps create confidence and clarity. Michelle, did you want to add something to that?
I did. Something one of my dear friends helped me bring into those conversations, especially when you get the person that says, you always engage them and ask them, and they'll say, well, I want to ask them, well, do you want to buy? And they're like, no, I want to buy. And I'll go, okay, what's your hesitation? And they'll tell me that, they think they should save some more money. Right now, with the way interest rates are going, it was brilliant. So I want to share it. I'm so excited about it. She goes, okay, so you want your payment to be $100 less. That's going to be $30,000. And interest rates are going to go up 0.5%. Can you save $30,000 in 6 months? And when you put it to the client and go, well, wait a second. When you look at them and try to teach them through total cost analysis and say, you cannot save at the rate it's going to be to save you the money you want, it turns the conversation around. It's so incredible. I hope everybody uses that.
I love that. By the way, I am pulling up my screen right now. I did an interview. I literally think I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. I'm pulling it up right now. Oh yeah, it's called I labeled it. After the interview, I called it the cost of waiting pre-approval experience, because I'm hearing this all the time. And again, a great strategy to optimize your referrals. Monica just asked the question, where do I get the expected interest rates and the appreciation rates? By the way, it's important that you get them from the borrower, because if you just make them up, they're not going to buy into it. So, it's part of the conversation with the buyer. What do you think is going to happen with the rates? Well, probably going to go up 1/4 to 1/2. What do you think is going to happen with values? So, Monica, that's where you get them. So, a couple more things. I'm going to hand it off to you, Jen. Get ready. I posted this question in the group saying, when you ask someone to introduce you to a realtor, please share your comments and scripts. We've got a lot of dialogue. So first of all, thank you, Mortgage Coach community. This is Masterminding. Please, some of you after this call, take some time, share your scripting around that. And then I just posted a question saying, what are your biggest strategy and tactics to optimize referrals from your current partners? I will add some videos and some ideas after the call there. And I want to push the community to share ideas. We all need to get more referrals, especially right now. Business is anywhere from a little up to flat, and spring home buying season's coming. So it's important that you guys really nail this within your practice, your market. What are the best ideas and strategies? So Jen, anything you want to add at this point?
Yeah, so I just want to add a couple of comments. I was taking copious notes. I want to get back to the question that Jeff had. So number one, I would say consistency is the key, because one of the things that you're hearing from me and Michelle is that, you know, we're having regular ongoing conversations with our realtors to engage in strategies that we're presenting to them on ideas to help move their business forward. So you can't just have a meeting and then hope that they're going to call you and hope that they're going to know about a cost of waiting, etc. So if you're listening to this, one of your action items could be, when you have your next meetings coming up, and the meetings that if you don't have any meetings scheduled, when you schedule your meeting, is go over a cost of waiting with every single referral partner that you're working with, or realtor that you're working with. I mean, that would be number one. So consistency is the key. I would go out and do a cost of waiting with everybody so that they understand it. The third thing I wanted to say, Jeff, and just in answering Jeff's questions is, so let's say it's a listing agent and it's through the process and you like them, just like Michelle was saying. For me, they become an A+ automatically. So my 120 days that I'm talking about is that I'm treating the new relationship as if it's already an A+ relationship for 120 days. So it's like being in school. You all have an A+, and it's your A+ to lose. So during the course of that 120 days, I'm doing a multitude of engagements through my partner impression program. And I'm calling them, I'm meeting them, I'm videotaping, I'm sending videos to them, I'm sending total cost analysis to them, I'm sharing success stories with them, I'm engaging with them for 120 days, just like they're an A+, and it's for them to lose that privilege to be in my circle. There's no referrals after that. They'll be in a drip campaign, right? They'll go to the bottom of the list. So that's how. So it's kind of a reverse engineering. So you've got your handful of A+, and then anybody who comes in new becomes an A+ for a while until they fall off of that or stay in that world. Okay. So I want to make sure that I was being clear about how I do that as well. So. Anyway, there's just a gazillion ways on all of this stuff. And I think whatever you do consistently is what's going to work.
I love that. So I do want to shine a light for everyone that we have a playlist called Realtor Strategies. And basically every one of these interviews really is optimizing referrals for realtors. Whether, if you see it at the top of the list, we have the paperless open house. We have Jeremy's 5 questions. You know, Danny, how he is actually having the move up conversation with realtors. This particular interview, 5 strategies with the Gaylord and Hanson team, you know, not only did they have a cross-qual analysis, but they had, what was it? Oh no, not the counter-offer analysis, and they have this cross-qual strategy. So the way that they work with listing agents so that they cross-qual. So, you know, all of these are just ideas and strategies to get more realtor referrals, how Wally Elderberry is being a conversion partner, you know, I mean, the list goes on. So, Jeff, are you still on the call? Are you still unmuted? Can you jump in if you're still here? All right, raise your hand, Jeff, if you are still on the call and able to interact. By the way, oh, there's Jeff. Hey, Jeff, I just unmuted you. Did we answer your question, and do you have any more questions?
Yeah, no, I think, thank you for that. It was good to come back to front and center. Yeah, lots of great ideas. And I think, you know, the big takeaway that I'm hearing, and hopefully everybody else is getting, is, you know, to your point, Jennifer, is, you know, do what works for you. If you like doing video, then do video. If it's other types of content, then do that, but be consistent with it. And, you know, you're using multi-channel. I call it kind of shock and awe. So kind of same thing, but I'm glad we really drove that point home, because I know everyone on this call, you know, the leaders of this call, and I hear it all the time as well, is, hey, you know, I met with the realtor, but, you know, nothing's happened yet. And you two ladies on the call did a great job of articulating it's our job to activate those relationships, not theirs.
Yeah, bingo.
Yeah, no doubt. So Jeff, hey, you're a coach and a leader in your own right. We've got about 6 minutes left. Any ideas jump out at you in terms of when I say, hey, how how could a loan officer maximize and optimize referrals from an existing relationship? What's top of mind for you? Another idea, or if you just want to add a new twist to an idea we've already talked about.
Yeah, I think again, it comes back to the big takeaway is how am I adding value on a consistent basis? What are the problems and challenges they're having with either moving inventory or getting better at lead capture and incubation? I mean, one of the things that I suggest people that I'm coaching do is, help according to the NAR, right? The NAR says the average realtor generates 25 contacts a month, but they're only working with about 2 of them because only 2 of them are actually active in market. But 50% of the rest of them will buy in the next 12 months and have a house to sell. But most of them aren't capturing that business because they're not good at follow-up. And that's where I think we can add value as loan officers is let's capture and incubate those leads for them and get them market ready and then drive them back to them.
So the way what I heard there, and I totally align, is that just by educating your realtor that, you know what, I've got incredible systems so that every time you give me a borrower, I'm going to follow up with them. I'm going to keep that relationship alive. You show them your total cost analysis. You talk about your systems and processes to follow up over time. That will get you more referrals. I mean, great point. Great point, Jeff.
So just real quick, just to clarify, in addition to that is the ones they're already generating that, that they have sitting there that are unincubated, if you will. Because they're generating 25 contacts, but they're only actually working with the right now buyers or sellers, right? So then what do they do with the other 23? Well, let me help you incubate those, edify you, get them, keep them tenderized and make sure they go back to you versus someone else.
Love that. Great idea. And just a pile-on idea to that, I interviewed Danny Harani last week. And in addition to that, within that conversation with the agent, he's also teaching realtors how to get more business from their current past customers. And he is, positioning himself as, hey, let me do annual reviews for your past customers. And that's another way to get more referrals. So I will pull that up. Let's see, I think I have the YouTube channel. If you guys can confirm that you can see it. It did, again, we've been on a roll. The content has just been amazing. Sorry about that, guys. The content's been amazing, but I'm going to show that. I think it's in the 2008 greatest hits. So we got 3 minutes left. Jen, why don't you give a minute of value while I'm pulling up this Danny video? Here it is right here, everybody. And then Michelle, you be ready to give the closing thoughts as we wrap up today's call.
Thank you. You know what? I was just internalizing all that. I'm going to take Todd's role for just a second and remind everybody that after this webinar, we need to have some white space to be able to cultivate all of the ideas that we just heard, put them in play, or create a jam session for a time where you can start, you can listen to the videos that Dave has mentioned, 4 or 5 different videos. Really internalizing what Michelle and myself and Jeff and others have said is to create your own pre-relationship pattern, your during relationship pattern, and your maybe that in between one that I'm saying is, I have a relationship, but I want to make sure that I can categorize this person properly. And then after I've categorized them, what is that relationship going to look like? And I also think, as again, I said, I create a bio for myself, but of course they put their personality around it so that it's their relationship with me, and they can say all great fun things, but also the verbal piece of that. How do you want to be introduced? Take the time to learn that now so that you, and develop that now. How do you want to be introduced verbally? How do you want to be introduced via email? And allow them to take organic pieces of that and put it around there. But use this time to develop all that now while your business might be slightly up or down. This is the perfect time for you to be able to develop all those systems and processes.
Love it. Michelle, parting thoughts as we wrap up today's call in the last minute. Anything you want to shine a light on from the conversation, or just any advice that you have to everybody?
I would, echo what Jen and what Jeff and what Dave is saying is, I think the common theme here is being consistent, finding your comfort finding your comfort range, your common interest with somebody, and just 100% be consistent with your follow through, and don't stop. And Jeff, it was so perfect. It is yours to lose. You're right. You have this great engagement with a listing agent, and it is going to be yours to lose if you want to. And if you follow some kind of consistent pattern, I think that you will find greater success than greater failure.
Love that. So folks, please let us know in the poll question, did you love today's call and it exceeded expectations? Good, you got some solid takeaways. If you are a guest to the call and you want to get a demo on Mortgage Coach, click the last option. Please check that on the way out the door. And this call is a wrap. Jen, have an incredible weekend. Thank you so much. Michelle, Jeff, thanks for coming in. We had a few other people raise their hand, come in. This is what Masterminding is all about, guys. And the last reminder, please, add value. This community already has amazing people in it, and it's only as valuable as your engagement. Are you asking good questions? Are you providing comments that help your peers? Please add as much value as you can and get as much value as you can. Take care, everybody.